Hey, welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to talk about a topic that really needs to be discussed. We are inundated with technology, so we have our emails at our fingertips. We also have social media that we're constantly going on back and forth, and just the internet in general. Today I'm going to talk to you about the art of being unbothered. So I want to talk to you about something that I think definitely needs to be addressed this day and age, just because of everything that we are attached to and everything that we have access to. My journey to not being bothered happened a few years ago, around 2017. And I just kind of want to share some tips that I learned along my journey. One of the great books that I read through my journey was this book right here. It's called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F. You can actually find this book online. If you go to my Amazon store, it's one of my smart picks or on my top shelf books. Definitely check it out. It is a great book to read. But I think around 2017, where I had gotten to the point where I was so kind of just not worried about things, but I was trying to reach a certain level with some of the things that I was doing. So everything was evaluating and analyzing, and okay, well, why was this said or why was this done in reference to how I was trying to grow one of my brands. And so I think that, sometimes that even though we want to look at the full big picture, some things we do have to just kind of set aside and throw away. So I just want to tell you 4 steps that I learned during my journey to being unbothered. And the first one would be evaluate or understand why. So essentially, why are you being bothered by what someone's saying? Is it because for me, when I was evaluating or trying to understand why it was bothering me, it was based on a product that I created. I received a lot of feedback, and generally the feedback was very positive. About 90% of it was very positive, and it was that 10% that wasn't positive, and I was just so focused on that. Whereas I think if I had shifted my thought process and I worked, or I was more concerned about the 90%, because those were probably the people that were probably going to buy the product or rebuy the product anyway. So that should have been my main focus, is just to reshift. So that was in essence an issue, and I had to understand that I was evaluating everything all wrong. And for you it may be something different, but you have to look at it from an aspect. Let's say you post a picture on social media and you're connected to your family members and your friends, and you get a couple of people that like it and a couple of people that don't like it, don't respond at all. Or you may get someone that responds, and it could be a very good friend, and they could say something like, hey, I see you picked up a little weight, but you look great. You are not focused on that you look great. You're focused on you picked up weight, you're fat. But you could be a very thin person and the weight looks really good on you, and you're just focusing on the negative aspect of what someone says. So I think that, and then that is for when I'm internalizing that, that is kind of a personal issue, a self-confidence issue that needs to be dealt with. So step one, evaluate or understand why you're feeling the way that you're feeling. Why do you feel bothered by a comment? So again, there could be a lot of different things, but you have to, you have to figure that, out for yourself. But understanding that you need to know why this is happening is the most important thing for that. Step one. All right, and step two is to ignore. And so this can be twofold. It depends on what the situation is. But in most cases, if you're on social media and you get a message from a what we call a troll, then you want to just ignore. What is the point of going back and forth with this person, especially if they're saying something that you don't agree with, and usually they're saying something that because they don't agree with you, or they could just be being mean, coming and bully. We have bullies and stuff online, just like we had back when we were in school. So what is the point of wasting your time going back and forth with the person? ignoring them is the best thing to do. And one of the songs that I think about when I think about this technique is one of Drake's songs. He mentions in his song that someone was asking him, like, why didn't he mention he had a kid, and he said a wise man told him, not to say it was wise, he shouldn't say anything at all. What is the point? And I totally agree with that. It's almost like there's a fire. If you can think in sequence, there's like a fire. Every time you say something, you're fueling the fire. You're helping it grow. That person's going to come back and say something, and that fire is just going to keep brewing, keep brewing. But if the fire is brewing, they're throwing stuff on it, you're not throwing anything on it, eventually that fire is going to die out. So just do not react. It's okay not to react. If you can remember that in some instances, now in others, sometimes there needs to be a conversation with you and the other individual, or depending on the situation. But for the most part, step two, you gotta ignore 99.9% of things that come your way. If it's not positive criticism, especially if you're trying to build a business or a brand, if this person is giving you advice and they've never done what you're trying to do, I probably wouldn't listen to them. How are they going to lead you somewhere that they've never gone? So number two, in essence, is just to remember to ignore in most cases. And step three, my favorite step, is to grow. And so this is twofold. You have to be so focused on your goals and your dreams and what you want to do that you don't have time to listen to what other people are saying. You're so focused on the end goal or the end result of whatever you're doing. You're not bothered by what people say because you already know that you've written the vision, you've made it plain, and you're going to run with it. So being in a growth format means that you're kind of like a seed. So when you're a seed, you're a flower. You need water, you need sunlight, you need light in general, you need darkness. They need a seed or a flower needs all of that. If you're generally just focusing on yourself and what you need to do with whatever you're doing, you don't have time to listen to what everybody else is saying. And you do also need to understand that when you're in this growth stage, if you are a flower, flowers sometimes their petals and stuff fall off. Those are people that are falling off. You have to let them go as you're going through your growth stage or your growth stage. So be very, very mindful that when you are through this growth stage, that you are doing wellness tips and self-care tips to take care of yourself so you can focus on your goals. A lot of people get to the notion where they are in the growth stage and they aren't doing things that they need to do in order to help themselves grow. So we already know if you work a 9 to 5 job, you get up in the morning, you have your morning routine, you go to work between the hours of whatever your work hours are. If you're working from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., those hours are set and you're focusing on your goals or your goals for what you need to do for productivity for work. When you get off work, there's no accountability for your time. So from 5 o'clock till 9 or 10 or whenever you go to bed, it's whatever. A great key focus for you in the growth stage is to plan out all of your time. Plan out your weekend instead of saying, I'm just going to chill this weekend. Plan that time out, focus, and that way you won't have any time to be bothered by stuff that doesn't really matter because you'll be goal oriented. You'll be focused on something else. So you won't really, think about the small stuff. And so the last step that I have for you is step number 4. It is live for yourself. If you don't hear anything else that I say in this video, number 4 is so, so important. You cannot live by the expectations of others. And one thing that I remember is probably about 10 years ago when I met a gentleman, an older gentleman, when I was, actually it was over 10 years ago, when I met this gentleman, and he told me that he was actually in the military, and he said that he hated being in the military. He had already been in 12 years, and he had came back because he had stopped. He had gotten out for whatever reason because he didn't like it. But he said he came back because he just always remembered his parents telling him when he was young and he was growing up that whatever you start, you need to finish. And I told him, I said, well, do you think they want you to do something, or do you think they would have wanted you to do something that you don't want to do? And I said, well, is it because of the money? Because I know a lot of people try to do the 20 years so they can get the retirement, and I get that. And that is a goal, for a lot of people. So if that's the goal, and he was like, no, it's not really about that. I'm going to get retirement from my regular job, because he was in the Air National Guard. So he said, well, I have a full-time job, that my retirement, he was, a government worker, with his job. So he said, I'm going to get my, my pension and all this stuff. And so he said, I'm not really focused on that. I just don't want to leave this unfinished. I feel like it's unfinished. And so after having that conversation with him, I literally, went back to my room at the time, and I was thinking, I was like, wow, it's the interesting, way to look at it. But then I thought about it, and I said, when you live for yourself, you can't, the expectations that other people set on you and the things that other people say, sometimes they can be distorted or twisted a little bit. And I think what they were saying is that he should never quit or give up on something that he's not interested in. And I think him not coming back or not continuing on in the military because he had decided that he wanted to, do something else, I think his parents would have been okay with that. But I think, in his mind, he was thinking, whatever I start, I have to finish. And I get it again. My daughter was taking, she was playing soccer. And after the second or third game, she was like, it's too hot out here. I don't want to do it, And I told her, no, we started this. You're going to finish this. You have 8 more games. I've paid the registration fee. We've come to the practices. You're going to finish this out. And afterwards, you don't have to play anymore ever again if you don't want to. And she was like, okay, so since I started, I'll finish it. And that's what we did. And that was a lesson for her. But after having the conversation, like with the guy a few years ago, I made sure that I sat my daughter down and I told her, look, whatever you start, if you feel in your heart or God has spoken to you and you feel like it's not something that you would like to move forward with, then you can pivot. You can stop and you can, do whatever else that you want to do. Don't live your life. If someone tells you, prime example, a lot of people go to school and they are set on going to college for one thing. They get in their first year, things change. And they've always told everybody else that they wanted to be a doctor or a lawyer or whatever. And then they decide that they want to be a marketing major. And people are like, wait, but you said you were going to be a doctor. Yeah, I said I was going to be a doctor. I'm going to be a marketing major now. You cannot live by the expectations of other people. You have to live for yourself. You have to follow your passion. You have to live on purpose. And you have to relentlessly go after your destiny. So if you don't do anything else that I mentioned in this video, the last step 4, live for yourself, be on fire for whatever you're passionate about, and just go after it wholeheartedly. Thank you so much for watching this video. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.